By Sigmar, was that a demon? That leering face, those eyes, that mouth filled with razor-sharp teeth, and then they were all over it, hacking at it, putting their spears into it, while I could not but run. The way that woman completely unraveled, was that because of me? Because of how I interrupted the ritual? Is that why she became some sort of living sacrifice for it instead? Either way, I might have stopped something greater. But still, I can't shake it. Thank Sigmar for Sigfrida. If she weren't there to calm me down, I might have kept running deeper down into those sewers till I wouldn't be able to find my way back. I better keep it together. I'd better decide to lean on these people that I've got around me now. This is Red Moon Roleplaying.
Kruger Hoffman. It is a dull grey morning as you find yourself in the dungeons underneath the State Army barracks. It is one day after, well, the hangings and your final farewells to at least one of your friends. A few days since your capture. But now you're back in control. You haven't suffered any permanent injuries, luckily. And you are now down here in the dungeons surrounded by watch guards. You're down here for one reason only. A final interrogation of the lawyer, Gottfried Yarmund. The watch commander, Ulrich, has stated that he's not really that bothered by what the man has to say now. You've already got the location of that final base and successfully wiped every single one of those cultists out. But apparently, in the briefing you were given by Sigfrida and Heinrich, this man has said he had some other things. He was actually trying to use it to negotiate to get out of the city. Information on allies the cult had had and some other things. Your mission today is very simple. Get out of him what he knows, and then if he's done, well, he'll be executed shortly.
Indeed. Well, I suppose I don't necessarily feel all that good about the fact that he's going to end up dead. I mean, in the beginning, all that felt like people were getting what they deserved, but there's just been so much of it. So many people have died, and here, yet another one. But it has to be done. The Purple Hand needs to be destroyed. That much is for sure. So I will get into this and do what it is that needs to be done. I don't want to humiliate the man or make him suffer needlessly.
Well, as you enter the cell, you realize that might already be out of your hands. He is dressed in rags, chained up on the wall. One of his hands is now a bloody stump, having been cut off. He is heavily bruised around the face and the body, having been beaten and tortured quite significantly at this point already. There's a small woman nearby, fiddling with some sharp metal tools. She bows to you and then leaves the room. One of the guards informs you that if he gives you any more problems, she can come back in. And all right, here he is. Have fun, sir.
Thank you. Understood. And yes, I will move up to the prisoner. And is there some place I can sit close to him, or is this a standing kind of interrogation?
If you'd like to request someone brings a stool in, they can, but they certainly haven't given this man a stool.
No, I suppose I'll stand then.
And you stand. He winces at you, weeping, bleeding a little from the mouth. Please, no more pain! No more pain!
It doesn't have to be any more pain. You're ready to talk now, right?
I already did! Bring him! Get Ulrich! I'll give you more! You just need to let me go!
Well, just give me what you have and I'll see what I can do.
I did. You won't. In fact, you kill me, you won't get it. He's still resisting. Would you like to call in that woman again? You don't think it'll take too long?
I look to him. I can call her in again if you want. If I have to. I don't want to. I don't want you to suffer anymore. But we need to get what you know out of you. I say.
If you hit the last, then you just kill me. It's not fair. I was trying to help. I was trying to reform, to portray them for you.
No, I understand. Well, tell me what you know now, please.
No.
Well, you leave me very little choice then, and I make a move as though I'm about to call this woman in and to see if that will somehow trigger him to try to stop me before I do that.
No, he's desperate. It makes sense. He wanted to use this information for his freedom. That's what Siegfrieda and Heinrich told you. They said something about they'd help him get out of the city, he'd never be seen again, and then there were some drop points that would have this information. He needs it to live, and once you get it out of him, there is no point in him living anymore, but sadly you need that information. It doesn't take long. Do you watch what this woman does to him, or do you step out for a moment?
I suppose I'll step out. It's not something I take any pleasure in or particularly enjoy as part of the work, but it has to be done, and she does it quite well. I'll wait outside until she's ready.
The sounds of his screaming are intense, but surprisingly short. Not quite sure what she does, but it does silence him after a few seconds. 10 minutes later, she comes out.
There you go. I think he's done being a naughty boy.
Thank you. I nod to her and I head inside.
There is more blood now. One of his eyes is swollen shut.
Are you ready to talk now?
My office behind the first book. There's the first one. Flagstone on Gelman District. 10 paces down. There's the second one.
And I put this to memory. Is there anything else that I need to know?
Tell you anything. There's no more pain.
Oh, just if there is anything more. It doesn't have to be more pain. We'll go make sure that what we're looking for is there. Alright? If we don't find it, then well, it's just gonna have to come back, and that would be a pity, wouldn't it? So you're sure? Nothing else?
You need to ask! How can I know if you don't ask? He's clearly now on the stages of mania.
I suppose I've taken this as far as it needs to be taken then.
Well, to be fair, you haven't actually asked him anything. Other than does he know more? You think you could ask him anything. He did just say he'll answer anything.
So what, before I go, what will we find in this location that you've described?
The documents I had on your friend proving she's false. Some other names. And the people who helped us. The body. Find the bodies. For the sacrifices.
Ah, I see. Well, that will be good to have. The cell here in Middenheim is obviously no more, but have you been in touch with central leadership of the Purple Hand? The groups in the other cities? Is there...
No, you don't. It's not how it's done. Only Castor. Only he was... with his... uniting the cells. I think. I never met him. I only heard of him. No, we don't. You can't. That's how we survive. They survive, but you understand. It's not fair. I didn't want this.
No,
I didn't want any of it. I wanted to help people.
Yeah, I understand that.
But you've done it here. You've done it. That's me, you got him. The others, I think. There won't be any more. Hardly any more. Free. There's a council of free before the Magister Mysterian. And I'm one of them. But I didn't want it.
Well, I find my mind being quite blank. I feel like I just need to go and look at what he has over there, those documents. I think that's what's required. If there's no connection with the central leadership, then we don't have anything more to really find out here.
Well, when you think about it, what central leadership? You were told that these cells are all independent. They have a council, a leader, and a council of free beneath them. It seems you've got all of them. You think he just said he was one of them, though. You hadn't heard that. It maybe had been assumed, but all good to know. He's just admitted to it.
That it is. But then that just confirms that they have been destroyed in the city, so there's nothing more to worry about then. How are you getting word from the other cells then? Do you have zero contact with them?
Sometimes a bird comes once or twice a year.
Huh.
That is all.
Like a pigeon?
Yes. Why would we need... We are all serving... The master is beyond such things. Why won't Ulrich see me? Why won't he help me? He knows I'm a good man!
Well, I grow somewhat tired of this situation. I will go and confirm that what you have hidden, that it actually is in the location where you said it would be. And maybe I'll see you later then. I'll say as I begin leaving the cell.
Then you exit the cell. And, well, how do you feel? Maybe he has more information, but maybe you don't need it. Why do you need to know what the Purple Hand want, or what their plans are? I mean, they're done now. You've defeated them, so their plans won't happen, right? And at the end of the day, chaos cults are chaos cults. They just want to hurt people and cause harm. What do you think about his words that he didn't want this, he didn't mean for this to happen? Are these just cunning lies?
Oh, I think, didn't we have revelations from one of the other leaders as well previously that this was all done in order to save this, that the city would be saved, or that some of the people here would be saved as everything else ended, something along those lines, that there was a deal made?
That seems to be what that Wasmir said, yes. Maybe that's all you need to know. Very well then. In that case, he's left behind. Your agents find the locations and they find the documents. The ones in the office are vaguely interesting, but only to you. There's a signed copy of the documents that Siegfried made. It seems he did some inquiries, this lawyer. There's a few letters here. Discrepancies. This would have been excellent blackmail material against Siegfried. You wonder if he was going to try and use it, but according to your conversation with Siegfried and Heinrich, Siegfried had even got into this man's presence before Heinrich just clocked him on the head, so it probably didn't come up. You might want to keep that, you think to yourself.
Absolutely. Anything that's related to my friends, I will certainly keep.
There's a few locations of buildings that you have already searched and seized. Useless now, but again, maybe at the time it would have been useful. The thing you find in the street, though, is a bit more interesting. This is a location you haven't found yet. It's some warehouse, again down in the wine district, although not the same warehouse you were at, it's a different one. Something down there involving... There's just a list of goods. Interesting. This could be worth checking out. Odd, though, this hasn't come up before on any of the other bits of information you've been gathering.
We'll take that with me. I'll have to show that to some of the others to, well, see what they think of it. I'm barely picking up what's written on there. My reading and writing isn't really... Well, I don't read, so I just kind of recognize things. So yeah, I'll bring that with me then.
Done. You go, you show it to the watch commander, he nods and says, excellent. Well, I guess we'll go and check this out. I don't see what relevance he has now, but could be useful. So, all done with him?
I think so. I mean, he's willing to say a lot more if we wanted to learn anything more about the grand plans of the Purple Hand.
I bet he's willing to say several things. Do you actually think it's relevant, Kruger? We are busy here. If he's done, he's done. He only got spared execution the previous day because I wanted you to interrogate him. Does he know about more places in the city? Does he know about their movements elsewhere? If not, frankly, who gives a damn what a cultist has to say?
Well, he doesn't know anything about the other cities. That much is clear. Whatever he knows about this city is what's in the documents that we've procured, so let me just ask him one more question about the grand plans. Lord Wasmere spoke of some plan to save the city in some perverted way. We just want to make sure that this man has the same plan in mind. So I'll head over there to just ask him that one final question about what does he think that this is all about? What is it that he's trying to actually make happen here?
He's very confused, although slightly less whiny than he was earlier. What do you mean? I didn't want anything. I wanted to defect. I wanted to reveal them to you. And now I'm gonna die. That's what I want. That's what I wanted.
Well, of course, but before...
I just wanted to... There were so many tests to be a lawyer. I didn't have the money, but I knew I was good. I knew I was talented. I knew I didn't need them, so they said they'd help. They said they'd a few handshaking. I thought it was just a club. I didn't know.
Oh, so you didn't have any grander ambitions other than just to become a lawyer, and that they would help you to achieve that goal. That's all this was to you.
Yes. But then it was too late. They took you to the woods. They gave you a knife. You had to partake.
Oh.
They'd kill you.
Of course.
I had to. And then because I with so many friends, they said I was the Magister Noviad. I was in charge of recruitment because they knew I knew people, and then I had to recruit people. I had to. I didn't know. I did, and then all this about killing the Graf. I didn't know that. I didn't even know it was him, Lord Wasmere. I met him, but I didn't know. We're masked. We're not supposed to know who each other are.
And did Lord Wasmere or anyone else talk about what the ultimate goal of all these activities were?
To serve Zinj. To be ready for the great reveal. For the end times. To serve when the forces of chaos overrun us all and destroy everyone.
And through that you would be saved and you would survive when everyone else wouldn't, right?
That's what they believe, but I just wanted out of it. I've been trying for years.
I understand. Well, thank you for your cooperation.
I could give you more, please. Just let me go. I will never trouble anyone again. I will just leave and never again do anything to anyone.
You're correct. You're correct about that, I say as I leave.
And he screams and he screams. But it's silenced. And the next day, he's hung. Although, much quieter hanging this time. There's not that many people left to hang. You think the death toll finally is rounded out at a nice 90, maybe even 100? You're not quite sure. Again, it's hard to remember how many actually were arrested and hung, and how many you simply personally killed. It's ironic, Kruger. They were after you because they feared you were going to harm them, be their enemy. And in the end, you really were. How's that feel?
Yeah, it's a strange feeling, isn't it? I never had any intention of getting involved in all of this. Not really. I was supposed to get the money. That's all the Casterlieberung really was. They were the ones who forced us into this situation, ultimately. It's all very unfortunate. But perhaps the fact that I was involved in it, the fact that I got made part of the fact that I became part of this whole thing, well, that was what ultimately stopped them. What ultimately stopped them from harming more people, from harming the city.
Indeed. Still, that's your last answer, you think, for now. How does that feel? All of this was just a plan for the city of Middenheim. Does that sit right with you? What about all the other things that happened? What about that strange being you met in Bogenhafen? Is this all just... It was all just for one man to rule a city in the end times? That's what all of them were hoping for? It almost seems a bit, well, much smaller than you thought.
Well, at least for these leaders, that would be a reason as good as any. Save yourself during the end times. When everyone else dies, is destroyed, then you will be the last one standing. You will be king. You know, you will still serve someone, obviously, but I suppose it is better to lick the boot than be kicked by it. It's one way to survive. If you think that it's inevitable, then if you've accepted that, then this is a rational course of action, actually. Even though they might actually be accelerating things. But perhaps they really were convinced that this was inevitable. If so, makes sense. In a twisted way.
I suppose all you really care about is it being over. And, well, that's how it seems. For the next 2 to 3 weeks, your investigations into the Purple Hand yield nothing. There are no more safe houses, no more leadership, no attacks. They seem to be gone. How do you feel as the weeks start going by? No attacks on yourself, no one saying the name Castelliberung. The city just moves on. Not in a peaceful way, unfortunately, but not because of any Purple Hand activities, it seems. Again, as well, it seems trying to continue the investigation beyond the city leads to a complete dead end. Truly seems as if they have no form of contact with other cells. You don't even really know where they would be. You think to yourself, maybe you could have asked that, but oh well, too late. You know there's one in Altdorf, but, well, Altdorf is out of your jurisdiction.
Yes. In all likelihood, there are cells in all major cities. That would be to be expected. So, it feels good at least that we don't have any more activity from them. Then again, that's to be expected. Even if someone has been able to sneak away, well, they would for sure be lying low for a long time after everything that's happened.
You do remember that's what that woman said. What was it? Something Jana Zuttermine? The representative of the Black Chamber, the Spionweber? She said something that you've dealt them a mighty blow and they're probably going to shrink back into the shadows for the next 100 years. You certainly hope so.
Yes, that will mean that they won't bother me, nor my children if I have any, in all likelihood. So, yes, I suppose it's a good feeling now that it's done, now that I don't have to listen to any more people being tortured or hung.
Well, sadly that's not entirely true. The Commission still has a lot of work to do. The city is not, after all, peaceful at all. Tensions between the Ulricans and the Sigarites continue to slowly simmer away. The new Ulric has actually legalized the group the Sons of Ulric. He hasn't said that they are not immune to law and order. They can still be arrested if they are committing crimes, but he's actually said that their form of worship is legit and shouldn't be penalized. This, of course, has infuriated the Church of Sigmar immensely, but there's little they can do about it in the city of Middenheim. Meanwhile, in Nordland, there are revolts and riots. Some noble is actually stirring things up, apparently. Something Lord Gasser or something? It's all alleged, of course. Luckily, the armies of the Graf are able to stem this for now, but it is not looking good in the Nordland. Meanwhile, things worsen between Ostland and Talabotland. Open war has begun. Granted, apparently, by rumour, it's merely a few skirmishes on the borders here and there, and some of it is done entirely by hired mercenaries, but they are finally beginning to squabble over land. There's even rumours in Averland, which is, of quite close to those two provinces of discontent with the ruler, although that seems to be something to do more with the peasants revolting. In response to all this, you've heard the Emperor has finally moved troops into his own lands. Further, closer to Ebersreich, where again there's been a lot of discontent and rumbling about the occupation of his forces in said lands. All in all, it's not really looking good. Although you think to yourself, how would this all be if you hadn't stopped the Graf getting assassinated?
That would certainly have made things worse. The city would have been in total chaos in that case. So we have at least prevented things from deteriorating further. That's good.
It is. Your days begin to be filled with tutelage from none other than Barey. He is a stern tutor, but he wants you to do your job well. After all, you said you wanted to serve the city of Middenheim, and you are on the road to doing it. He thinks you have the good makings of an informant, an agent. You learn a few things about the dwarf. You learn why he was so awkward at times with you. You thought he was in service to the Graf directly, which in a way he kind of is. But it turns out he's actually the personal agent of one of the Graf's sons, Baron Rainer Todbringer, who is an individual you have not yet met. He apparently has spent quite a lot of time down by Ostland Italicland. He was trying to, on behalf of Middenheim, negotiate peace. Sadly, it seems he's failed. So you now see why some of his information didn't always seem to go immediately to the Graf. Still, he's happy to teach you a few things. The thing is, Kruger, you're not too bad. You got a good head on your shoulders, but you're far too cocksure. You go in and you just hope things work out for the best. I hope you learned a lesson from what happened in the, I heard about what happened in the Oswald district. You almost lost your head. What were you thinking, going in by yourself?
You're right. It was reckless. I see that now. I was genuinely just trying to help the group, but I have to be more careful. I've learned that the hard way.
You do. Pre-planning, intelligence gathering, subtlety. I won't have too much of a go at you. You were always a bit better at that than your good friend, Lady Wittgenstein. And poor Heinrich, he never seemed to have a way with words, but you at least understood a little bit of subtlety. But again, you're a human. None of you have real subtlety.
I just smile at that.
But you'll learn. You're going to be getting people, contacts. You talk to people, you get to know them. You send out messages. You consider things. Think about what you pulled at the Royal College of Music. Not bad, but imagine if the High Chancellor had actually been innocent. Then you'd have just been captured and sentenced to death for robbing a High Chancellor in practically broad daylight, even though it was the evening.
When you put it that way, yes, that was a very risky move.
Good. I'm glad you see it. Now, another thing. We gotta teach you shorthand. I understand you can't read or write, that's not unusual, but if you want to do your job properly, you're gonna need to get a few keywords down. How do you take to the next month of your training? You were taught even more how to be stealthy, but you were also taught a bit of etiquette, you were taught a bit of intelligence work, you're taught some basic shorthand on how to read and write. You're not exactly going to be writing any books yet yourself, but you are taught these things. And all this over many scouting missions, drills, assisting the Watch with various matters. Most of it recently is calming riots between Ulricans and Sigmarites, or calming disgruntled workers. Nothing too exciting, but also nothing too dangerous. What are your thoughts as all this happens?
Well, I take this opportunity and I treat it as preciously as I possibly can. Here's someone who can actually teach me things that normally only nobles are taught, only people with means are taught. This isn't what I, who grew up as an orphan on the streets of Nuln, I had never had opportunities like this, and here I have that. Here I have an opportunity to finally learn how to read and write, and I invest myself fully into that. That's all I do. I just focus in on the studies, focus in on learning, because I don't know when I will have an opportunity like this again, if I ever will. And I know it's something that will definitely help me. The idea of sneaking around and picking locks and pilfering things from people. That's something I can do right now, but it's no way to make a real living. It's no way to grow old. Eventually I will get caught. So this is an opportunity to break free from all that. So I accept it gladly.
It is. And as the months go on, you even begin to earn a wage. Granted, it's not 1,000 gold crowns, but earning 1 gold crown a week is something some people would kill for.
Absolutely. And it's honestly gotten. It's not stolen. It's not a bribe or anything like that. This is a salary for protecting the people of the city. Look at that.
Indeed. There's other perks as well. Barrack has a pigeon loft that he keeps in a building somewhere in the Gelman district. He gives you access to it. He teaches you how to use the birds. Fascinating creatures. They really are very good at knowing where to go and when to come back. And if you put little notes on them in their little talons, they're pretty effective at passing things along. They're also very good at being untraceable, unless of course you actually capture one and follow it. But most people do consider that quite difficult, as they have this habit of flying, which most people can't.
Yes, they're really very special animals, so intelligent, and there's a kindness to them as well. There's no evil in pigeons. They're pure in that sense. So I find myself really taken by them and enjoying learning how to take care of them and learning how to make a use of them as well. I spend a lot of time there with them.
You do. You also begin forming a nest of contacts. Most of them are barracks, but he's happy to start introducing you very slowly to one or two. He tells you this is how you do it. You don't go and investigate yourself straight away. You get other people to do things for you. You pay them, they go, they spy, then you confer. Sometimes, of course, they can get in harm's way, but if you play your cards right, they're normally fair game. Even people like the Low Kings don't have a go at most little spies, unless, of course, they're directly spying on them. Of all these new contacts you make, you have quite a few now. But which one's your favourite? Who stands out?
It's a man named Heinz. He's one of the head servants of one of the important nobles in the city, one who's corrupt in many ways. Fortunately not in any kind of chaotic or purple-handish ways. But because of that, he ends up hearing all kinds of important information, overhearing conversations that his master has with, the many people that come and go in the city.
Yes, he does have a few useful bits of information. He's actually someone who works with another information broker in town. They go by the name Herr K. You don't think that's their actual name, but you think there's someone else, a bit like Half-Nose, who maybe represents some of the other lower kings. Definitely a useful contact to have as long as you're careful with them. You find yourself having time to, achieve your own ends. You have a network of informants, you have messenger birds, you are, for all intents and purposes, a member of the intelligence agency of Middenheim. Granted, it's not really that official. What do? You could just continue your training, but you have a little time as the weeks go on. Is there anyone you really wanted to look into? Any organizations you'd like a bit more information on? Or any of these goings on in the greater world that you'd like a little bit more info on?
Well, one part of me would of course be focused on trying to root out any remnant. If there's anything left of the Purple Hand, anything that we missed, I will dedicate some time to that. And aside from that, I think the Sons of Ulrich are a group that are very interesting and seem like they could potentially be a problem in the future, maybe. So I'll try to learn about them as well, try to understand what drives them and what kind of plans do they have and how might they affect the city in the long term.
Your work into the Purple Hand is dissatisfying. It really does seem as if you found every last one of them. You maybe are able to chase down one or two here or there, one who got under the notice of the main purges, but they just give you the same information, even less in fact. You do wonder, that lawyer, he was one of their actual leaders. Should you have quizzed him more? But the problem was you didn't really care. As long as you knew what they were up to, you didn't care why. But you learned that these last remaining few know absolutely nothing. They've just been hiding in sewers or hiding in basements, trying to escape. It does seem as if Middenheim is cleansed of the Purple Hand. But as for the rest of them, nothing. You do send a few letters to, well, people like Lady Emmanuel Nacht or even the Black Chamber in Outdorf, and you just receive information that there is nothing new. All activities have ceased. All contacts gone. They really do seem to be scuttling back into the shadows. Perhaps not unexpected, but maybe a little irritating. On the plus side, you've now had almost a month and a half. No one has said Castelliberung to you. No one has tried to murder you in the middle of the night. You've actually felt quite safe, hanging around, of course, in the upper part of the city. The other inquiry is a little bit more productive. The Sons of Ulrich, who are they? Well, they lack any central leadership, so it makes it really difficult to find out where they meet and who they meet with. But you do start to find that there are places in the city, particularly in some of the lower districts, but not the Oswald or Altquarter, maybe places like the Wind or Sudor, where they do occasionally gather. Annoyingly, they are now legal, so that is technically not a crime. But you are able to track down a few individuals, and you are able to link them to a few mild misdemeanors, some intimidations here and there, some talks of sedition here and there. Do you call out the order for their arrests?
No, I think at this point I want to have this information in reserve, unless they are very much actively disturbing the peace. As long as it's something that's more or less under control, I think it might be better to tolerate it, just so we know where we have them. We know what they're up to, so we don't end up radicalizing them or getting them to perhaps do more serious things. So yeah, unless it spirals out of control, I think we'll just treat them as we treat any other criminal.
Well, then you wait for a while. Things do occur, though. One of your contacts does inform you that you're pretty sure 7 men have been linked to rumours of one of the revolts in the Nordland. That there's sedition.
If it gets to that level, then I do think we act, reporting it onward to the right authorities and then doing the arrests that need to be done.
Then the arrests go quite easily. How's this feel, Kruger? Suddenly now you just say that someone should be arrested and they get arrested. You've already got the evidence. Your informants have found it. They have been seen. Several witnesses have heard them. And indeed, after being interrogated after arrest, they give plenty of information. Several places in the Nordland where uprisings are coming. Over the next few weeks, some of them are stopped, you hear. Good work. You're congratulated on this. You've stopped at least maybe 2 revolts. Sadly, there are still 6 happening. But, well, you've stopped 2.
It's something. I can't save the world by myself, but I can hopefully make it a little bit safer. So, yes, that feels good. It feels good that that hunch was something that paid off. And then there's one more thing I think of. And remind me here. What we saw at the castle, these things that were with Eltka Herzen, how much of that is clear to me now? These things, did I see the rat people properly there? This talk of the warp stone, is that something that I would still remember clearly?
You saw some pretty unpleasant things underneath that castle. Do you remember that thing they called Warpstone? But you haven't thought of it since. You do ask, and it's Heinz who comes forward and looks at you very oddly in your office one day and says, Sir, you want to know about rat people?
And I'll look at him and I'll smile. I know what they say. Let's just say that there have been things that I've come across during my journeys that have pointed to this being a possibility. So, all I'm asking is if there are any mentions of these kinds of beings, any kind of sightings of them. just let me know, alright? I suppose normally we would just let these things go, just thinking that they're the ramblings of crazy people. But let's entertain them, just for once, and see if there are any indications that something like that might be active in the city. I would like to know in that case.
You sent him out, and you don't hear anything back for several days. Eventually, you are sent some notes. The last sightings of so-called rat men were thousands of years ago, before they were wiped out. There are some in the sewer jacks and some in the dwarven ironbreakers who discreetly inform you that maybe sometimes in sewers in the world they have seen these creatures, but you are informed several times that there is nothing substantial to these rumours, and that unless you want to personally go around looking in sewers, you're not going to find anything. It all sounds very much hearsay, but, well, the dwarves do vaguely inform you that they are still out there, but humans are strange and you don't like to be bothered by these things.
Yes. Well, it's good that I've at least put out that inquiry, so if there is anything that is found, that it's taken seriously. I try to then leave it if it's not something that really pays off in a more direct way. But it has been something that has been somewhat on my mind. What was it really that we saw there, and how was that linked to everything else that's happened to us?
Indeed. It is odd. You find yourself looking over an old report. You couldn't read it before, but lately you've actually started to feel quite confident in your reading skills. It's the report of what happened when they raided that base months ago. You almost forgot about it in a way, because it turned out to be very mundane. They didn't find any purple hand. They did find some smugglers. There was some sort of basement, and there was evidence of cages. It was suspected that they had been involved in people trafficking. Of course, they were all simply captured and killed. They didn't feel any need to interrogate them. But it was very odd. Who were those people? Why were they helping the Purple Hand, one little group of smugglers? There was something unusual about the smugglers as well as you look over the notes. They all had one of their teeth missing. One of the front teeth. Which maybe was just a sign of bad dental care, but it was noted in the report as slightly unusual.
That is interesting. It might have some kind of significance. I'll try to look into that as well and see if there's any kind of patterns connected with that, if that is a normal modus operandi of any groups out there to do something like that.
It is not. You look into it and find little information. It's all been pushed aside. After all, the Commission is starting to lose a little power. Not unexpected. The Purple Hand had been defeated. This commission was largely informed to deal with them. Now it's being given rather odd cases, and its money and its influence are starting to wane a little. You find yourself distracted by other things. The Watch Commander gives you an odd case. There's been a series of disappearances in the city lately. They started actually a few months ago, but they've only really come to your attention now because there's been at least 3 or 4 of them. Again, the Watch Commander has no idea. All the victims seem to have no real connection to each other. They were all murdered in their homes. You read a report from a priest of Moor that says they were all killed with a similar weapon, and there were traces of Black Lotus venom in their bodies. But again, it's been largely left to just random crime.
That is interesting. That is strange. I suppose I'll try to look into it to the extent that I can, but I understand that the time that we have and the patience that people have with our activities is starting to be lost.
Yes, again, you were a special commission. You're not actually the Watch, which has its own duties. Still, you can look into it a little.
I shall do that then.
Why don't you roll an intuition check?
That is 41 under my intuition of 58.
A success. You spend a few nights looking this over. Again, there's very little information. Half of this is just reports from Watch after the fact. And again, most people in the city can't read or write, so most reports are written down by a scribe, second hand. 3 bodies. One was a civil engineer. He was found in the Nortor district. One was a serving girl. She was no one. Her body was apparently sent straight to the Temple of Moor and then thrown over the Cliff of Sighs, which is where most peasants are thrown off rather than buried. There is no room for them in the city. And then there is... one of them was a sewer jack. Holden Gerg. That's interesting. A sewer jack. Someone who works in the sewers. Again, all 3 seem completely unconnected in any way. But... a sewer jack... Civil engineer, what do they do again? You look into them. This one was a man called Antxon Kron. He worked for the Commission of Public Works. The Commission of Public Works deals with several things in the cities, including the sewers. Look into him a little. He apparently was about to fund a large new renovation project for the sewers. Again, they do happen. They don't last very long, but people do try and bring some order to the sewers. They just are very expensive and don't last very long. He was about to head one up. No longer, of course. And finally, there's the last one, this Yeva, a serving girl, or a grocer. Curious, though. You talk to your new friend, Heinz. He makes a few inquiries for you. Yeva was no grocer. She was a thief. She worked for the man. She apparently was very good at knowing her way around the sewers. It's a very odd connection that you've just worked out, Kruger, but all 3 of them in a weird way had something to do with the sewers.
Yes, and there's clearly something going on there. Well, if there is still time for me, then I will continue looking into these very events, perhaps even taking a party down to the sewers to see if I can find something.
You make this request for reinforcements to go down on a sewer visit, but sadly you are refused. You're in a meeting with Ulrich when you make this, and he seems rather annoyed. No time for that. This is more important. Look at this. There's been a series of extreme thefts in the last couple of weeks. We actually have evidence they may have been going on longer than that. But some of the things been stolen are quite valuable, and we've been tasked to find them. After this you can deal with a sewer trip, but right now we're being tasked with this. Quite a few of the nobility are involved, as well as some of the institutions. They want a thief found, and well, you have experience with thieves, don't you?
I certainly do. Of course, we will prioritize that first.
Good. He gives you a list. Several places have been broken into recently, including the Collegium Theologia Library, the Temple of Ulrich's Law House, several private residences, the Royal College of Music. Lots of little things have been stolen, mainly books, maps, works of art. What do you think, Kruger? Is this actually more important than killers on the streets? Apparently, according to the nobility, it is.
Well, you have to listen to your employers. If this is what they want us to look into, then this is what they want us to look into. What I had was tenuous at best. It was interesting. There's something there. But, presumably it won't go away overnight. I'll look into this first, and then hopefully I'll be able to dedicate myself to my own investigations afterwards.
How would you like to handle this, Kruger? You have your own skills. You now have a ring of contacts. You know people in the city. You know, of course, your good old friend, Alfric Halfnose. You also know this Herr K fellow, or at least you know how to get through to them. How would you like to begin your little investigation here? Who is this thief? Someone must know. If it's an individual or an organization.
Well, I suppose I'll work with my informants first then to try to find out that way. So going via Heinz and Herr K then, perhaps.
Wonderful. What could you roll for this? I'd like maybe let's see, you're using your contacts. So maybe fellowship to start with, but maybe do you have like a charm or intimidate or leadership?
I have all of them. Charm, leadership. Charm is 45. I rolled a 5, so that's 4 degrees of success.
A 5. Well, Kruger, you really are getting to know your contacts, Heinz in particular, but you have several other people, and you are treating them well, aren't you? How do you get them to do such a good job? What's your secret?
Well, I think the main thing is to treat them with respect. I don't in any way... I try not to act in the way that people normally act around others in this town. There's a lot of hierarchies, and I find that when people are treated with respect, when people are being treated as though they know what they're doing, then they tend to actually put in a little bit of extra effort, and they tend to genuinely want to try to help you to do what it is that you're trying to do. So I think that's the approach I'm trying to take here, because I'm no one, you know. I'm an orphan from the streets. I'm a thief. Yes, I'm supposedly some kind of hero who has helped save the day, but I have no station in society, not really. So I think I'm trying to come at it from that humility perspective, and I hope that will work.
They get to work. It takes a few days. You've sadly learnt that while you and your friends were capable of foiling entire plots in a matter of hours, it seems that normally you actually have to spend an awful lot of time getting anything done. But you get things done. Your contacts give you this. No crime happens in this city without the Low King's permission. However, none of the Low Kings seem to be benefiting from this. This is random theft of random objects, pieces of art. It's not bad, but it is public. Hell, it's been noticed. That's why the watch have been called in. So you don't think it actually is Low King related. And one of your colleagues does ask you for some money, and he gets a bit of Half-Nose information. It does cost you a few crowns, of course. According to Half-Nose, well, there's only one group of people in the entire city who would do heists, and, well, they would always pay homage to the Low Kings, but they wouldn't do it directly for them. Ronaldians. People who worship the god Ronald. The god of trickery is not favoured by the Low Kings, because of course the god of trickery, as you learn, actually has morals, which the Low Kings do not. Granted, they are the morals of a thief, but there is some thieves' honour in Ronaldians, and apparently you learn that the very few Ronaldians in the city, while they are not immediately enemies of the Low Kings, are not really welcome in their ranks. But there is one location in the city where they do dwell. That is the Fifth Finger Tavern in Westall. Your contacts continue to do a good job as you send one of them to see if they can negotiate with the Ronaldians. And they do so, although again, you do have to send them with a few gold crowns. You do get a little note that then is delivered to you by one of your contacts. It simply says, "The well at Pity Square, in the Westall district, 1 hour." Your contact looks at you.
So, sir, here you go. I mean, I don't know if you want some backup, but with the Ronaldians, I think, you know, they don't actually harm anybody. That's one of their things, I think. They don't believe in violence. Thievery, yes, but not violence. So you could go by yourself.
I could, but I've learned that it's always good to have someone watching your back. So, I'll head there, but I'll, if I can, arrange so that I have with me one or two of my, from my team, then I will do that.
You make the arrangements, and you find yourself meeting up in a small alleyway in the Westall district. Again, this is actually slightly higher up in the city. It's not quite the All Quarter or Oswald, but anything could happen in an alleyway. As you're waiting in the alleyway, you do see a man just poke his head up a little. He's quite tall, thick-bearded, wearing a big belt buckle, currently cloaked.
Heh. That's how it always is with folk like you.
I can see you're two men. Just know this, sir. Try and arrest me, I'm off. You're not getting nothing. You're lucky this is happening, but I've heard down the grapevine that you once actually had some honour, so I reckon I can help you a little bit. But again, try and arrest me, I'm off. Understood?
Understood. That's fair.
He looks around a little. Huh. Bores, Cirque. I'm your thief, guilty as charged.
I see. Why the thieving? What was the point of all that?
Well, first of all, thieving itself is an honourable profession. Rich people don't need what they have, poor people do. Renaud says... Well, you know what Renaud says. Don't honour authority. You don't need it. Now you might be thinking, why am I talking to you? You are, after all, no offence, the authority. Thing is, I think I may have made a little mistake, and I'm willing to own up to it. Bless Renaud. Because, well, he's taken away some of my powers. So I think maybe my new associates were telling some fibs.
You don't say.
Yeah. You see, I thought they were just a little student club. Some poor people. They had this great list of things they wanted, right? and you know what? I thought, why not? You know, I broke into the Temple of Ulrich. I broke into the College in Theologia. Don't get me wrong, it's not easy, but, you know, when Renaud blesses you, he gives you a few little gifts. But, you know, I thought it was all just for fun. But they were a weird lot. They had this thing. Missing teeth, yeah? Called themselves, what was it? Yellow Fang. And the truth is, I'm starting to think maybe they're a bit suspicious. I think that's why Renaud's taken his blessings away. So I heard that you were looking for me, and I thought, well, you know what? Maybe if I just point you in their direction, if they are honourable thieves, Renaud will strike me down. But if they're not, well, I haven't helped you, have I? But, you know, you've just done your job, and, you know, if they're murderers, they're fuck murderers, am I right?
I nod at that, of course. Interesting.
Well, I'd heard quite a few things about you, Mr. Kruger, but maybe you're not so bad. Although I have to ask, why the hell did you join the man, the authority, eh? What made you turn your back on the people?
Well, the city has to be kept safe.
Safe? Really? The Watch keep the city safe, do they? You know what? Good for you. I'm not here to cause a problem. So we all good? I confess to all the theft. It's not going to happen anymore. I'm done. I'll move on to something else. But I'm going to go now, right? Try and follow me. Sorry, I don't want to be caught. And I'm not going to give you any more info because I can't, you know, I can't. Renaud will be even more angry at me.
I understand. No, but it is good that we've cleared this up then. I hope I don't have to see you again then.
You certainly won't, friend. And he gives you a wink as he leans forward. He plays with a little coin and says, well then, you want, where was it again? Ah, yeah, sort of this warehouse down in the Freiburg district. Again, I never said nothing. And, well, like I said, if it turns out they were nice little good thieves, Renaud will let me know. But I have a feeling they're not. I'll tell you this, they're not part of the Low Kings. They've got their own thing going on.
Clearly.
Well, pleasure doing business with you, Mr. Authority.
Yes. Now stay out of trouble.
And with that, he vanishes into the shadows quite effectively. What do you make of this, Kruger? You found your thief. A thief of Renaud. A priest of Renaud, you suppose. A lot of them are thieves, although not all of them. But it seems that he was responsible for all these thefts, but he's decided to turn his back on the people he thinks they're the ones who've maybe are up to something. Yellow Fang. Teeth missing.
That fits into the things I was looking into, doesn't it?
It does, you think? You have an address. How many people do you get sent down there?
Well, this is connected to the main job that we were sent to investigate, so here I try to call together everyone I can call together. So make sure that we have enough people for this mission. And with the Purple Hand out of commission, hopefully we'll be able to get together quite a large group for this strike.
Certainly. Plenty of watch, plenty of men. This is so much easier now. You think back to the days where you had to do these things on your own. But now you don't. The scuffle that takes place is over in 2 or 3 minutes. There's 6 or 7 of these people in this building, but they go down very quickly. Most of them dying instantly as they are killed by soldier spears, but you do catch one guy. You also find a basement filled with stolen goods. There's paintings, there's books, there's barrels of various bits of jewellery, telescopes, vials of Black Lotus venom, interesting, stuffed toys, a weird-looking triangular dagger, that's odd, some strange symbols on some ragged cloaks that you do not recognise. Finally, there is a map. It's a map of, well, not the entire empire, but a lot of places in Middenheim and Reichland. Lots of X's on it. You look it over, most of it doesn't mean anything to you until you happen to notice there's a big X down by... Wittgendorf. And there's another X a little bit above it, and that would mean nothing to most people, but you're pretty sure that's where that strange little signal tower was. Finally, as your eyes overlook this, there is some ticks, not X's. Most of them are very far away in the mountains, but one of them is a lot closer by, somewhere in the middle mountains, which is only a few days east of Middenheim, and there's a big tick, and someone scored lots of stone here, exclamation mark, exclamation mark.
This is exactly what I was looking for. I'll have to check that place out, and this is something that I think I'm going to want to take to Siegfrieda and Heinrich and perhaps even Gerner, if he's around.
That could work, although then there's one more piece of paper that catches your eye. It's been half burned, as if they were maybe trying to burn some things. It's a few names. You can't read most of the names that have been burned out, but you read at the very bottom. Chancellor Frieda Wallenstein, Lady Marguerite von Wittgenstein. Why are these names here? Why is your friend's name here? That's concerning.
It certainly is. I'll have to bring this to their attention.
Indeed. You might need to go and do it as soon as possible, you think to yourself. Besides, you do want to see them.
I do. It'll be a nice excuse for that.
And so, your briefing concludes with Ulrich at the state barracks in the middle of the night. Well done. This is good. This yellow Fang. Some of our investigations, this name's come up. Started to think we might have a major smuggling ring here.
Yes, they seem to be up to something that might be quite bad. I think it's good that we continue investigating them further to see what they're really up to.
Indeed. But you mentioned something about a piece of paper with the commissioner's name and the doctor's name on it. That's concerning. You might want to go and inform your friend. I'm led to believe they've been unharassed for several months now, but... well, those disappearances. Would they be linked to the activities of these individuals? You did say something to me about sewers.
Yes, I have found strange happenings in the sewers as well. There's something that we have been missing up until now, but I think this, we have now traces here. We'll have to investigate this, and I will definitely bring it to the attention of my friends.
Good. I'll send some people over to the commissioner, just in case this is a target list. Okay, these people were stealing objects, but, well, maybe they were up to something else as well.
It is very possible. All right, I say, and I begin doing just that.
And so, Kruger, you head into the night. You know where your friend Siegfrieda lives, so it won't take too long to find her, you think. What's running through your head? It's been a busy few months, these last 3 months. An awful lot's going on.
I feel like I've stumbled upon something that might be perhaps even bigger than this Purple Hand business. Stone and those things we saw. There's something here. I still don't know enough. I still can't connect all the dots. But the fact that my friends' names are being mentioned as well, this might turn very, very dangerous.
And so you head into the night, eager to find Siegfrieda. After all, you know where she is. You don't know where Heinrich is, and you haven't really interacted with that Gerner fellow, but you know where she is. Maybe she'll have some answers for you as you head out into the city at night.
You have listened to an episode of Red Moon Roleplaying, where we play the legendary campaign The Enemy Within for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 4th edition, published by Cubicle 7. In this 4th part of the series, we are tackling The Horned Rat. Joining us as players in this series are none other than Aaron Hammonds from Queen's Court Games and our dear friend Matthew Dawkins. The music was made by Flowers for Body Snatchers, Wordclock, Metatron Omega, Aegersonus, Apocryphus, Halgrath, and Northumbria, featuring a number of collaborations with other artists, and was used with permission from their label, Cryochamber. Check out their website at cryochamber.bandcamp.com or their YouTube channel for some moody dark ambient for your gaming table. We'd like to give massive thanks to our champions of the Red Moon, Martin Heuschober, Simon Cooper, David, Julia, Camilla, Bob Lange, Cameron, Antxon, Barey, and Doug Thomson for their generous support. And we would of course also like to thank all of our other patrons. Without your support, the show would not be possible. If you want to support our work, please check us out on Patreon. You can get access to bonus campaigns for Cult of Divinity Lost and Coriolis there, as well as get early and raw access to all of our recordings. You can also hear your name read on the show as a champion of the Red Moon, as well as play Cult with us. Most importantly, that support is what keeps the show going, so do check us out there. Thank you again for listening, and remember that the Skaven are definitely not real, and even if they were, the Emperor has already dealt with that threat.